Hello everyone, and welcome to day 4 of the 12 days of death. So I'm not even going to waste time with another boring intro. Let's just get straight into it.
I know you're there. You can leave now, or I can drag you out. It's your choice.
Ooh, I'm shaking in my boots, especially looking at the Prince of Darkness. But that case over there is part of an investigation I've been working, so why don't you hand it over, and I'll get out of your horns. Is that a no then?
Mine!
What are you? Better. I wish I could see the look on your face.
Me too. See you in hell.
KO!
Well, just like with the last death battle we talked about, I actually have a lot to say about this one, and I actually do regret not talking about this fight when it first came out because I had so much to say about it, but no point in getting worked up over regrets. So let's talk about Death Battle's first live action Death Battle. Now, this is something I was very surprised to see Death Battle do. I never thought they would do something like this. So one thing I'll get out of the way, because it's something I have to bring up or else power scalers in the Versus community are gonna fucking kill me if I don't. It has been brought to my attention that apparently the results and scaling in this episode were completely fucked. And while I won't go too deep into it because I don't want the video to be longer than it needs to be, however, I will link some videos in the description that go more in depth about the results, but I'll give a quick example of what I'm talking about. So apparently, a lot of people in the Versus community were saying that it was wrong to scale Nightwing to Batman. They said that combat-wise, Nightwing is as skilled as Batman, who mastered every single martial art known to man, and apparently that's not the case. Yes, he was trained by Batman, but he never mastered all the martial arts that Batman knew, so combat-wise, Daredevil should have had the advantage. And apparently, there was some scaling mistakes. They said that Nightwing was around bullet speed because he was able to stop a guy before he was able to fire a bullet. But apparently it was brought to my attention he didn't actually move faster than a bullet. All he did was just move faster than the guy pulling the trigger. Which, if that is the case, that is a huge fuck up on Death Battle's part to completely ignore that. Now, I don't know if Death Battle just maybe missed that, or they did it on purpose because they wanted Nightwing to win for whatever reason. But I do see that as being a problem. However, like I said, I'll link a video to people that go more in depth about the problems with the results. Now, I do agree that these are problems and that is going to affect the final score, but as you know, I like to talk about the Death Battle as a whole, not just the results. Now, in terms of everything else, the matchup, for the most part, is fine. Although, once again, I have to bring this up, I am really getting sick and tired of these trendy death battles or these dumb, overdone rivalries of, let's have Marvel versus DC, let's have Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat, let's do Sega versus fucking Nintendo. It's really old and I'm so sick and tired of it. How many goddamn Marvel versus DC fights have they done? And I remember I said this in my Darkseid versus Thanos review, but honestly, they should have stopped with these after Darkseid versus Thanos. Those were the two big dogs of their universes. It should have stopped right there, but they keep making them. And I'm honestly getting tired of it. As I said in my top 10 worst Death Battles episodes, I'm really getting sick and tired of Death Battle doing certain matchups just because it's trendy or they want to jump on something like, oh, the Black Panther movie is coming out, and due to the controversy it created, it's getting a lot of attention, making a lot of money. We better capitalize on that while we have the chance and do a very forced Batman versus Black Panther matchup that was complete bullshit. And from the research I was able to do within the Versus community, absolutely nobody was actually asking for Batman to fight Black Panther. Now, I saw people asking for Batman versus Captain America and Batman versus Spider-Man and stuff like that, but not Batman versus fucking Black Panther. I don't know where the hell that came from. And it's just as obnoxious here. Please, Death Battle, enough with Marvel versus DC. We fucking get it. Just let it die and do something different, for the love of God. But outside of the matchup, this matchup was okay, I suppose. And the fight itself, which is what I really want to focus on, is really, really good. I absolutely loved the fight. This brings back old memories of the good old days of Deadliest Warrior. Because if you remember Deadliest Warrior from back in the day, all their fights were live action and they were incredible. Now obviously Death Battle doesn't have the same budget as a cable TV network show like Deadliest Warrior, But I will say, for their first live-action fight, it is really, really good. I love pretty much everything about the fight. I actually have zero problems with the fight. The fight itself is perfect. And this is a perfect example of what I've talked about in my other reviews, where as long as you get the fight right, I can forgive certain problems like Death Battle doing another trendy fight, or them fucking up some of the analysis. Now, make no mistake, fucking up the analysis is never, ever forgivable, but if you can give me an entertaining fight, I can at the very least kind of ignore it to an extent. And I do love everything they did here. The soundtrack was perfect. When you first hear that piano, it gave me chills. And the rest of the soundtrack is absolutely perfect. The choreography was really damn good. I loved the choreography. It kind of reminded me of some of the fights in John Wick, which is really, really good. Like, that's definitely the type of fighting you want to be able to replicate if you are going to do a live-action death battle. You want to try to replicate some John Wick stuff, and I'm not going to say that this is on par with John Wick, but you can tell that's what Death Battle was attempting to go for, and to an extent, they succeed, and I absolutely love the banter back and forth. There was only one cringy line I can really think of, and that was about it. The whole Prince of Darkness thing was a little bit cringy, but it wasn't that bad, and every other one-liner was really, really good. I absolutely loved that ending one-liner of "I'll see you in hell." That one was really, really good. And the part where Daredevil says, "I wish I could see the look on your face," that's also really, really good. I love the back and forth with these characters. Now, one of the only things I could say that was maybe disappointing about this fight was the lack of gore. Now, as we know, Death Battle has become pretty infamous for some of its really gory, over-the-top kills. Hell, they even got a very dark and somewhat gory kill out of a Pokemon Death Battle. But I was disappointed that, did they just have no budget for any gore effects, or did they just not know how to make convincing gore effects? That was a little bit disappointing. It felt kind of watered down, if you will. Like, this felt like a PG-13 fight, which was disappointing, because Death Battle, you're known for your gore. Why couldn't you give us a little bit of gore? Like, I'm not gonna say that this fight is going to be docked down a point necessarily because of the lack of gore, but I don't get like why you weren't able to incorporate any, considering that almost every other death battle you do, you find some excuse to have it end in a very gory death. Especially after watching Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai, it's a little bit disappointing because the gore in that death battle was really, really good. So I'm not sure what that was all about. If anyone has any explanation that Death Battle may have given for why they didn't have any gore in this episode, please let me know, because for the life of me, I can't think of any reason for why that would be. And in regards to the analysis, like I said in the results portion, there are some very questionable scales, such as scaling Nightwing to Batman, which he doesn't actually scale to Batman, which is somewhat questionable. So that was a little bit of a fuck up. I think it's possible Death Battle either fucked up or they got a little bit lazy on the analysis because they put all their eggs into the whole live action fight that they forgot to put the same amount of time in the analysis, because Death Battle should know by now that while not everyone who watches Death Battle does this, people in the Versus community will watch people like Death Battle like a hawk, and if they even make one mistake in the analysis or the end results, the Versus community is going to jump down their throat. So Death Battle should be aware of this and should be doing much more in their power to avoid making these mistakes. Now, I personally believe that Nightwing winning does make some sense when you consider the fact that he does have access to Daredevil's weakness, so I don't think it's too out of the realm of possibility that Nightwing could win. Though there are some that say that Nightwing would lose. Like I said, I won't get too deep into that. I'll leave a video if you're more interested in that. So, overall, this was a pretty good fight. And one thing I find somewhat amusing, like I don't think I'm ever going to be able to bring this up again, but in this episode, the fight itself is actually longer than the end results, which is a little bit interesting because usually the fights are very, very short and then the analysis are on the longer side. But the end results was like 2 minutes long and then the fight itself was 3 minutes long. I find that just a little bit amusing. I might give Death Battle a point for that just because I find that a little bit amusing. But overall, this is a very solid episode outside of some fuck-ups in the analysis and end results, which don't worry, versus community, I'm not going to ignore those fuck-ups, I promise you. But the overall package here, this is pretty good, and for their first live-action bout, this is impressive, and I would be interested in seeing Death Battle do some more live-action fights, because it does bring back memories of Deadliest Warrior, and now that I think about it, someday I might have to review me some episodes of Deadliest Warrior and pull an AVGN and take you guys back to the past of what the Versus community was like before Death Battle. Maybe after the 12 Days of Death, if I retire from Death Battle or while I'm on my hiatus, maybe we'll take a look at some Deadliest Warrior episodes. Who knows? But not to get too far off track, getting back to the final score. My final score for this is, I'll give it a 8 out of 10. It could have easily been a 9 out of 10, but due to the fuck-ups in the analysis, I can't ignore those. And from what I was able to understand while watching videos and doing power scales of these two, apparently they really botched some of the power scaling here, which is inexcusable. So because of that, I'm going to have to dock down some points for that. But everything else here is great. This is, again, one of the better death battles. Unfortunately, it's not perfect like Samurai Jack, because Samurai Jack was one of those once-in-a-blue-moon times death battle got it perfect, like everything worked. And pretty much everybody universally loves Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai. I wish we could get more fights like this that are perfect, or at least close to perfect. If there was more death battles like this, I would be less apathetic and less irritated every time I do a review. So once again, Death Battle, if you're listening, more of this and I will get on your ass slightly less. Do you understand, Death Battle? I cannot stress that enough. I don't want to shit on you, I just want to see you do good. And this is very good. I highly recommend watching this episode. I know I usually show the death battle, so that way you don't have to watch the original episode, but in this case, go for it. This is a death battle you can watch over and over and over again. So, this concludes day 4. I will see you guys tomorrow for day 5.